Lord, may the words of my mouth and the thoughts of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Again, the words from Moses recorded in Deuteronomy from chapter 8, verse 7 and following. For the Lord your God is bringing you into a good land, a land with streams and pools of water, with springs flowing in the valley and the hills, land with wheat and barley, vines and fig trees, pomegranates, olive oil, and honey. Land where bread will not be scarce and you will lack nothing. A land where the rocks are iron and you can dig copper out of the hills. When you have eaten and are satisfied, praise the Lord your God for the good land he has given you. This is the text. Well, some of you today will be preparing turkeys if it's not already in the oven. Maybe you're eating a little bit later in the day, but let me give you some facts about turkeys. There are about 250 million turkeys produced in the world each year, most of them in the United States. 50 million of them are going to be eaten today. So the balance of 200 million turkeys are used for the deli meats and things that we eat throughout the year. A wild turkey that maybe you've seen on the country roads as you're coming into church or even along the highways can live more than 10 years. The average turkey that you eat on today takes from 6 months to that time as a little chick to the time that you get it on your table. The heaviest domestic turkey weighed in at 86 pounds. That would be a huge one. The average is around 15. 70% of the turkey is white meat, 30% is dark. And the average person eats about 16 pounds of turkey a year. It takes about 50 pounds of feed to produce an 18-pound turkey. The brain of a turkey is about the size of a raisin. That's kind of important to know. Turkeys have an oversized breast on them. The farmers will develop the turkey to have that large white meat because that seems to be what we crave. So the turkey is really off balance and has to learn how to walk a little bit differently as that breast gets bigger. Children, turkeys do not make good pets. They're rather territorial. They are very possessive. They're very self-centered. Everything is about them in the pens that they live in. And for those who raise turkeys, they will tell you that it's probably the dumbest bird on earth. Turkeys are grown and sacrificed solely for human consumption. Now that we know that, our world is full of lots of bird-brained people. Many of them will be home today celebrating life around food and family and football, all surrounded by the things that are very important to them, the luxuries of life, the amenities of things that are important to make life happy for them this day. And as they sit in their recliner, probably full from lunch or dinner and with maybe pie on their tie or their shirt yet, they're realizing that, life could be better, but it's not too bad. There will probably be some at our table or the gathering that we're at will complain today about work, complain about politics and the past election. They'll complain about religion. They'll certainly complain about sports. But come Monday, everybody will go back to their routine again as if nothing really happened over this weekend other than having maybe an extra day or two off. And we patiently wait now for the next holiday to come. If we take a look at the book of Deuteronomy, we realize that Jewish families really probably were not much different than ours. Certainly their amenities were different and all of life may be a little bit different, but they probably had some of the same concerns that we do. In the text, we see God preparing the children of Israel, that they weren't really at that point, that's kind of what we come to know them at, but the Jewish people for travel, for leaving, for the new world that's coming to them. Moses is getting them ready now to go to that promised land and to leave where they are. Really survival. So in the book of Deuteronomy, God gives the hints of what to do and what not to do, things to remember, things to be careful of. He's going to start setting down some of the laws and regulations that they need to follow as Jews. Might be some of the same talk that you and I received when we decided to leave home and just kind of go out on our own, and as our parents gave to us many, many years ago. At the end of the text, though, God reminds them of one thing, and he says, don't forget me. in all that you do, in all that you experience, in all of your hardship, don't forget me. You know, as we read through those verses from verse 7 to 11, and God is telling them about what he has given to them in the land around them, just think of how bountiful our land is, how blessed we truly are. We live in a safe and free land. We have everything that we could possibly want, probably more than we need in life. Just walk through a food store and look at the cans of soup varieties and the loaves of bread that you can buy and all of the different things that are available to us. God tells us, just as he did the children of Israel, that he's going to get them through the tough times. Think of how God has done that for us, for those of you that have experienced world war and tension around the world. We live in a society of laws, and he is certainly trying to explain to the Jews now the laws that are necessary for them to be able to abide and to live together and to follow them. The land is good. Take care of it. Same applies to us. The land will provide. Use it, certainly as he tells them. And then he says, and when you've eaten and you've enjoyed enough, then thank the Lord for that. Count your blessings. Many of us have certainly learned that list of all of the things that God gives us as we went maybe through confirmation class many, many years ago. But think of the words of Luther in the explanation to the first article when he says this: I believe that God has made me and all creatures, that he has given me my body and soul, eyes, ears, and all my members, my reason and all my senses, and still takes care of them. He also gives me clothing and shoes, food and drink, house and home, wife and children, land, animals, and all I have. He richly and daily provides me with all that I need to support this body and life. He defends me against all danger and guards and protects me from all evil. All this he does out of fatherly divine goodness and mercy, without any merit or worthiness in me. For all this, it is my duty to thank and praise, to serve and obey him. And then Luther says, this is most certainly true. You and I have much to be thankful for, and we could probably take that list and expand it even farther and make it more specific to us. But so often, the life that you and I live, especially connected to others, is about us, isn't it? It's focused on our needs, on our hurts, our sorrows, our desires. Sometimes we think in the back of our mind, well, I'll just be a little bit happier when I have a different house or a bigger house, or I have a car that's newer, or I get to vacation in that global spot somewhere that everybody seems to think is so great. Or I have just one more adult toy that I need to buy yet in my life to really be happy. Or our kids need to have this new toy that came out, and boy, would their Christmas be great if it were under the tree. Or just think how nice it would be if I had a little bit more money just to spend a little bit more freely to enjoy the good things of life. Well, we can create our own list, can't we? The list could go on and on. Things that would make us content, things that would satisfy our life. And yet we find ourselves day after day kind of locked into our routines and our lifestyles and things that we know are going to make us happy, we look for every single day. Life is good, isn't it? Until all of a sudden something comes and it just crashes down on top of us. Whether it's finances or health or family or employment. We might even scramble to gain our footing and try to get back to where we were in life so that we don't lose that status that we're at or the lifestyle that we've enjoyed. It might be easy for us to point the fingers at somebody and look somewhere else as to where our problems came from and pin the blame on them. And sometimes it might even be talking to God and saying, why me? Or life is wrong when we can't get what we want, or things just don't go as we planned. As God's people, you and I realize that sin causes us to crave and to want more, to covet more, as if the things in our life are going to provide happiness to us, and they don't. Well, it's only temporal, we know that, but sure, it feels good right now to have them, doesn't it? The text reminds us that sin causes us to forget about God, because we get so wrapped up in ourselves and all of the things around us that make us feel so good, and how easily they can be taken away from us or they become less important to us. We try to resolve our issues by ourselves until we reach that point and realize we just can't do it anymore. The theme of this text, and maybe the theme of our Thanksgiving, ought to be this: don't forget God. It's God who gives us all the blessings that you and I enjoy. In verse 6 of the text, it reminds us that you and I need to walk the path that God has planned for us. Oh, there's always some deviation. That's our lifestyle in a way. But you and I need to go where God leads, to trust him and to revere him, and to accept what he gives to us as his good and gracious gifts to us. The text says that God promises to take care of us, to provide for us and protect us all the way on that journey. And even though sometimes we find ourselves on some rocky soil and maybe some slippery pathways, we realize that God is there to watch over us. I've had some friends who have raised turkeys. I've watched turkeys out in the big buildings in the pens, and they really are dumb animals. They really have no clue about their fate. In fact, when a turkey is being butchered and you take the head off of it, it's just like a chicken running with its head cut off. It doesn't realize what's going on. That raisin-sized brain inside the turkey focuses itself on the turkey. His life is to eat, drink, and really self-survival until his life comes to an end. That's the way most of the human world is today, too. To eat, drink, and be merry until life comes to an end, and then they really don't care anymore about what happens after that. That's not true for us. There is no better place for us to be than in God's house and in his presence as you and I start the celebration of Thanksgiving. We gather in church and we're humbled by the blessings that he gives to us. We're thankful for his grace and love that he offers to us. We're encouraged by his faithfulness to us at all times. And we're indebted to him for his forgiveness. Like the Jews in our text, God promised them care, and he promised them a Messiah that would come for them. God's promise back then was for us as well. But now, 4,500 years later, as you and I gather in God's house, we're not waiting for the promise anymore. Now we're waiting for the fulfillment of Jesus Christ to come again and call us by name and take us home. Jesus came to be sacrificed, to give up his life for us. That was his sole purpose on earth, was to save his people from their sin, to fulfill that sinful human need that you and I have as we crave and covet in our world, so that we could go beyond that into the peace that he gives to us. And he did it all in willing obedience to his Father. Jesus paid the ultimate price for his life, but you and I realize that it was not a sacrifice that was in vain. Well, as I said, the world is full of bird-brained people who have forgotten about God, and their life is really off balance. Their bloated breasts show the self-assurance that they have in themselves and not in God. And in the end, they're going to lose out. They're going to lose their life. And it's all been sacrificed only for sinful desires and lifestyles. As you and I gather this day in a country that is free, in a land where we can worship and preach and talk about God, God is the one who placed us in this prosperous land. God is the one who put the bountiful harvest on our table and the tables of millions of people around the world. God is the one who gives us an environment that is clean and safe and a great place to be. God is the one who surrounds us with family and friends today as we gather to say thanks. And God is the one who provides for us not just today, but every day, the daily bread that sustains this body and life. And he will continue to do so as our benevolent God. Luther says, God does this only out of fatherly divine goodness and mercy without any merit or worthiness in me. But then what does God ask in return? And Luther ends that explanation very simply by these words: for all this, it is my duty to thank and to praise, serve, and obey him. You know, I can't think of a better time for us as God's people to do than right now. And I would invite you to rise as we sing together the words of the common doxology in thanksgiving to God for this day. Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Praise him, all creatures here below. Praise him above, ye heavenly hosts. Praise Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Amen. In Jesus' name, amen. We confess our common Christian